All right, this video is for week 3 of Linguistics 102, and this week we're looking at the Indigenous languages of Canada. In this video, introducing the week, I will recap last week's stuff, preview the material that we're covering this week, and remind you about the things that are coming up in our schedule. So last week we looked at language classification. We had a good discussion on Thursday, and I encouraged everyone to try out the practice quiz. That's about it, right? Oh, we had a visit from the Undergrad Linguistic Association in our tutorial as well. And you can check out their poster on eClass. Here's a quick rundown of the material for this week. The first section in the chapter in the chapter goes through several of the languages and language families native to Canada using the genetic classification that we talked about last week. We learn about Algonquin, Eskimo-Aleut, Na-Dene, Siouan-Catawban, Salish, Tsimshianic, Iroquoian, and Wakashan. We also see a couple of isolates. These are languages which aren't clearly related to any others, and a couple of contact languages. These are languages that arise when you have contact between other languages. After that, we learn about the decline of Aboriginal languages over Canada's history. It's not a fun topic to dwell on, but it is very important to remember the human consequences of our history. And yes, a language isn't a person, but just think what it would take to stop you from speaking the language you grew up with. All right? And now think about what it would take for everyone to stop speaking that language. Right? The loss of a language is never just a curious footnote in history. It reflects widespread and dramatic human tragedy. And if you look into the work done by scholars in linguistic departments across the country, you'll find that a substantial portion of it involves studying, preserving, and promoting the Indigenous languages. Our linguistics department here is no different. I'm including a link to one of our big projects, SILDI, in the description of this video. Most language preservation work is helped by an understanding of the linguistic structure of the languages, and the remaining sections of this chapter take us through some of the phonological, morphological, and syntactic features that stand out among the languages that we find in Canada. So that's the content, that's the material that you're covering. The main things to do this week are to, first of all, learn the material, of course, try out the practice quiz for this chapter, and come along to the tutorial on Thursday. Next week we have a graded quiz, so this tutorial is the last chance that we'll have to interact live, ask questions, and I can answer them before that quiz. And that quiz is going to cover the material from this week, Aboriginal languages, and from last week, the language classification stuff. Okay, so that's it for this week's video. Go through Chapter 8 of the textbook, try out the practice quiz when you're ready, come along to the tutorial, and let me know if you have any questions.